course I know most.
Yo, man, they just shot FBG Durk in the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro.
FBG Durk's murder was one of the most brazen drill hits ever caught on camera. And now, the case is heating up all over again. The feds are officially linking Lil Durk to the situation. In this video, we're breaking down how Durk allegedly greenlit the hit that took out FBG Durk, and how a rap beef spiraled into a full-blown federal murder investigation. Let's get into it before we dive into the nitty-gritty. Let's set the scene for those who might not be familiar with Chicago's drill politics. We're talking about two of the most influential figures in the city's street rap game. Durk, who runs with O-Block and the Black Disciples, and FBG Durk, who was repping Tookaville and the Gangster Disciples. These weren't just rappers throwing shots over beats, nah fam. This was deep-rooted gang politics that had been brewing for over a decade. The story that's been unfolding through court documents, civil lawsuits, and federal investigations paints a picture more sinister than anything Hollywood could write. We're talking alleged bounties, coordinated hits, and a conspiracy that stretches all the way to the top of OTF. Only the Family, Durk's collective, which prosecutors are now calling a criminal enterprise. August 4th, 2020, that's the day everything changed in Chicago's drill scene. FBG Durk, real name Carlton Weekly, was out in the Gold Coast shopping for his son's birthday when everything went left. He was gunned down outside a Dolce & Gabbana store in broad daylight, taking 16 bullets to the body. His girlfriend, Cassie Williams, and another bystander were also caught in the crossfire.
Hey, yo, man, they just shot FBG Durk in the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro. In the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro.
But here's where it gets really wild. This wasn't just some random street beef gone wrong. According to a massive lawsuit filed by Durk's mother, Lashina Weekly, the hit was allegedly ordered from the top. King Von is accused of placing a $100,000 bounty on Durk's head, with Lil Durk allegedly acting as the puppet master behind OTF, pulling the strings from behind the scenes.
Our complainant law lays out that a $100,000 bounty was placed on the life of FBG Durk to have him killed.
The feds weren't playing games either. 6 O-Block members were convicted in January 2024 for FBG Durk's murder. Charles Liggins, Kenneth Robertson, Christopher Thomas, Marcus Smart, to Carlos Offord and Ralph Turpin. These weren't just random shooters. These were Durk's people, his soldiers, allegedly carrying out orders that came from the very top of the OTF hierarchy. Now, when folks say Durk killed Durk on camera, they're not necessarily talking about some smoking gun footage of Durk pulling the trigger himself. No, it's deeper than that. They're referring to the digital trail of evidence prosecutors have been building. Social media posts, music videos, lyrics, and phone records that allegedly show how the whole conspiracy was planned, executed, and even celebrated. Remember, King Von's took her to the O video. That dropped months before Durk got murked, and it literally shows Von's character killing someone named Durk. The lawsuit calls that part of a broader campaign of intimidation designed to psychologically terrorize Durk before they actually took him out, with over 350 million views on YouTube. That video wasn't just entertainment. According to prosecutors, it was a threat. The streets already knew about the bad blood between O-Block and Tookaville. But what makes this case so wild is how Durk allegedly used his platform and his money to turn a street beef into a corporate level conspiracy. We're talking record labels like Sony, Universal, Alamo, and Empire allegedly getting caught up in the mix, accused of profiting off real-life violence while turning a blind eye to the consequences. But here's where it gets even crazier. Ralph Turpin, one of the convicted shooters, was allegedly in contact with a phone number linked to Durk's brother, Dethan Wright, around the time Durk was located and killed. This wasn't some spontaneous street encounter. This was allegedly a coordinated operation with communication. Going all the way back to the top of the OTF leadership, the streets have been talking about this for years. But now the courts are finally catching up to what the hood already knew. FBG Durk's murder wasn't just another casualty in Chicago's gang wars. It was allegedly a business decision made at the highest levels of one of hip-hop's most successful collectives. Let me break down the level of disrespect Durk was showing before his death, because that context is crucial to understanding how things escalated when Durk dropped dead. Be asterisk, 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 ease. He wasn't just rapping, he was basically walking through O-Block's graveyard and spitting on every headstone. The track mentioned specific deceased members of O Block, mocking how they died and questioning their street credibility, even in death. In Chicago's drill culture, that's the ultimate violation. And according to prosecutors, it's what put the target on Duck's back. The sophistication of this alleged conspiracy is what separates it from your typical street beef. We're not talking about some hot-headed young dude catching feelings and reacting emotionally, the lawsuit claims. This was a calculated business move, with OTF leadership allegedly weighing the costs and benefits of eliminating one of their biggest rivals. The profit motive allegedly turned murder into more than just personal. It made it profitable. Think about the level of coordination required. People tracking Duck's movements, someone with the authority to greenlight a hit in broad daylight. In one of Chicago's most upscale neighborhoods, shooters willing to risk life sentences, and a whole organization ready to capitalize on the aftermath. That's not street-level thinking. That's corporate-level criminal enterprise.
2 vehicles pulled up. 4 individuals exited those vehicles, 2 from each vehicle, and began firing at the individuals that were on the sidewalk outside
The
of
social media aspect of this case shows how modern criminal conspiracies unfold in the digital age. Every Instagram post, every Twitter interaction, every YouTube video, it all becomes evidence in building a RICO case. The very platforms these artists used to rise to fame are now being used to document their alleged crimes. The evidence keeps stacking up like building blocks, and each piece, prosecutors say, points back to OTF operating as more than just a music collective. According to the lawsuit, OTF was functioning as a criminal enterprise, using music industry resources to fund and coordinate street violence, all while profiting off the chaos they created. What makes this story even more tragic is that Duck was allegedly trying to move differently before he was killed. His 2019 track Chicago Legends paid respect to fallen O Block members, and some viewed it as an attempt to extend an olive branch. But the streets don't forget, and apparently, neither does the federal government. The feds aren't playing with this case. The word profit appears 102 times in the 229-page lawsuit, showing how prosecutors believe this was all about money and clout. Every stream of a diss track, every view of a music video, every social media post celebrating Duck's death, it all allegedly translated to dollars in OTF's pockets. This isn't just about 2 rappers beefing anymore. This is about how the music industry allegedly turned street violence into a profitable business model, with record labels funding artists they knew were involved in real criminal activity. Because controversy sells and authenticity pays. But it goes even deeper, as we're about to find out, by following the paper trail and the digital footprints now that we've laid the foundation of what went down. Let's dig into the evidence that's got prosecutors building a RICO case that could change everything we thought we knew about drill rap and street politics. This isn't just barbershop speculation anymore. We're talking about federal investigations, wiretaps, and a digital paper trail that allegedly connects Lil Durk to one of the most brazen hits in Chicago history.
See this happen in the middle of the day is very, very disturbing.
To see something like this happen in broad daylight is deeply disturbing. The feds didn't just stumble onto this case by accident. They've been building this conspiracy charge brick by brick, and every piece of evidence tells a story about how OTF allegedly operated as a criminal organization disguised as a record label. We're talking about a level of organization and planning that goes far beyond your typical street beef.
These individuals murdered Mr. Weekly as part of their effort to maintain or increase their position in the O Block.
Let's start with the music, because in drill rap, the bars don't lie. Durk's 2021 track Should Have Ducked wasn't just a diss track. According to prosecutors, it was a victory lap. I told her high as duck. He wasn't just using wordplay. The lawsuit alleges this was Durk literally profiting off Duck's death, turning a murder into marketing material. But it goes deeper than just one song. Durk's I Got Killers, All My Friends. Prosecutors are treating lyrics like these not as artistic expression, but as confessions. To them, this isn't metaphor. It's Durk allegedly admitting to having a crew of shooters on call. The social media evidence might be even more damning. Remember, when Durk tweeted Rip Niski on the same day Duck was killed, the streets noticed the timing, and so did investigators. Prosecutors allege that the pattern of social media activity around Duck's murder shows a coordinated response from OTF members. It even happened. Then there's the King Von angle, the piece that brings this entire alleged conspiracy together. Von wasn't just Durk's artist. On Rivals and coordinating hits, his music video for Took Her to the O, which has over 350 million views, wasn't just entertainment. Prosecutors claim it was a public threat aimed at Duck's life. The phone records are where things start to get really serious. Ralph Turpin, the man who allegedly alerted the O Block shooters to Duck's location, was in contact with a phone number linked to Di Thang, Durk's brother, and alleged lieutenant in OTF, according to the feds. This wasn't a random street move, it was a coordinated hit. With communication flowing up and down the OTF chain of command, the financial records paint an even clearer picture. Every time Duck's name was mentioned in a song, every time his death was referenced in an interview, every view allegedly translated into profit for Durk and his crew, the lawsuit outlines how OTF became an international brand by glorifying Duck's murder. But this case isn't just about money. It's about the systematic way OTF allegedly turned street credibility into marketing gold. The more authentic the violence, the more streams they got, the more real the beef, the more attention they received. Duck's death wasn't just a tragedy of street politics. It was allegedly a business opportunity, and the record label connections make this story even more complex. Sony, Universal, Alamo, and Empire are all named in the lawsuit, accused of knowingly profiting from violence while turning a blind eye to the criminal activity of their artists. Prosecutors allege that these labels actively welcomed artists with criminal backgrounds because controversy and authenticity drive sales.
The threatening, the killing, and then the celebration of the killing and the continued killing, all on the name of profit.
Let me break down just how sophisticated this alleged operation really was. We're not talking about some street-level dealers trying to handle beef the old-fashioned way. According to prosecutors, this was a multi-million-dollar enterprise that used legitimate business structures to fund and coordinate criminal activity. OTF had contracts with major record labels, distribution deals, touring agreements, and merchandise operations, all allegedly functioning as fronts for what prosecutors are calling a continuing criminal enterprise. The timeline of events also shows a clear pattern that prosecutors say PROVES premeditation. Duck drops his infamous diss tracks, targeting fallen O Block members. Von allegedly responds by putting a bounty on Duck's head. The Took Her to the O video drops as what prosecutors call a public threat, then Duck is located and killed in broad daylight. All while communication allegedly flowed back to OTF leadership. The footage from that day tells its own story, the location and timing strongly suggest this was a carefully planned operation.
Hey, yo, man, they done shot FBG Duck in the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro. In the Gold Coast of Chicago, bro.
Duck was on the Gold Coast, far from his usual territory, but somehow, the O Block shooters knew exactly where to find him. That level of intelligence gathering and coordination doesn't happen by accident. Witness testimony from the trial of the 6 O Block members revealed even more about the alleged conspiracy. Duck's girlfriend testified about the constant threats and harassment from OTF members, showing this wasn't just about music. It was personal, it was systematic, and it was allegedly coordinated from the top. The federal government's RICO approach to this case shows they're treating OTF like organized crime. The same legal tactics once used against the mafia are now being applied to drill rap. Collectives with prosecutors arguing that music labels and street gangs have merged into hybrid criminal enterprises. What makes this case even more compelling is Lil Durk's subsequent arrest on murder-for-hire charges related to the Quando Rando shooting. The pattern is the same: alleged retaliation for King Von's death, coordinated through OTF resources, with Durk allegedly calling the shots from behind the scenes. The feds are using this case to establish a clear pattern of behavior they say shows OTF functioning as a continuing criminal enterprise. The civil lawsuit filed by Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, isn't just about financial compensation. It's about exposing a pattern of criminal conduct that allegedly reaches the very top of OTF. The 230-page document reads like a federal indictment, filled with detailed allegations about how Durk allegedly used his platform, his money, and his influence to orchestrate violence against his rivals. The digital evidence continues to pile up, and the music industry's response has been telling. Durk lost his honorary key to the city of Broadview, Illinois. His Neighborhood Heroes Foundation lost partnerships. When your own community begins to distance itself, it says a lot about the seriousness of the accusations. The street response has been just as revealing. Posts across social media show a community that's tired of the violence, but also protective of its own. The same streets that made Durk a star are now questioning whether the price of that fame was worth it. Now let's talk about the aftermath and what it all means. The ripple effects of this case are still spreading throughout Chicago's neighborhoods and across the entire music industry. It shows just how deep this alleged conspiracy runs and raises serious questions about the future of drill rap. Because this isn't just about one murder anymore. Prosecutors are pointing to a systematic pattern of violence allegedly orchestrated by one of hip-hop's biggest stars. Let's be real. After Duck was killed, Durk didn't just move on, he allegedly celebrated it. The track "Should Have Ducked" wasn't just disrespectful. Prosecutors claim it was Durk turning Duck's death into profit. When Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, heard those lyrics, she didn't just get mad, she got organized. That movement led to the massive civil lawsuit, now threatening to bring down the entire OTF structure. The legal strategy behind the suit is bold in scope, by naming not only Lil Durk, but also major record labels and even the city of Chicago. Duck's family is painting a broader picture of systemic failure that goes far beyond street politics. They're alleging the police didn't respond fast enough, that the labels not only profited from violence, but helped enable and coordinate.
As a company, when you realize that you have a dangerous product, when you're pushing that dangerous product out to the public, you have a responsibility to ensure that that dangerous product does not injure or hurt or harm.
The timing of Durk's arrest on murder-for-hire charges related to the Quando Rando shooting couldn't have come at a more critical moment for prosecutors building the FBG Duck case. When federal agents arrested Durk in Florida, they weren't just charging him with one crime, they were establishing a pattern of behavior that allegedly shows OTF operating as a continuing criminal enterprise. The parallels between Duck's murder and the alleged hit on Quando Rando are impossible to ignore. Both incidents reportedly involved bounties, both were acts of retaliation for previous killings, and in both cases, prosecutors allege that Durk's fingerprints are all over them. The feds are following the same playbook once used to take down organized crime families, but this time they're applying it to hip-hop collectives, arguing that groups like OTF are functioning as modern-day crime syndicates. What makes this case especially dangerous for Durk is how prosecutors are using his own lyrics against him. When he raps about having killers for friends, they treat it as evidence. When he references specific murders in his songs, they argue it shows knowledge of and involvement in criminal activity. To the feds, this isn't artistic expression. It's a confession. The music industry is watching this case closely because the implications stretch far beyond Durk and OTF. If prosecutors succeed in proving that record labels are complicit in violence by promoting and funding artists with known criminal ties, it could reshape the entire way the industry operates. The civil lawsuit against Sony Universal and other major labels is essentially arguing that these companies are accessories to murder, profiting from violence while turning a blind eye to the artist's real life. Criminal actions. The community's response has been complex. Recently, the fathers of both Durk and Duck came together to promote peace, a powerful gesture in the midst of an intense legal battle. It shows that even in the chaos, there's still hope for healing, but the streets are also watching closely, waiting to see if justice will finally be served for Duck's death. The financial implications of this case are staggering. OTF generated millions through music streams, tours, and merchandise. Prosecutors argue that Duck's murder played a direct role in that success. Every time someone streamed a song about Duck's death, OTF allegedly profited from that violence. Social media continues to be a goldmine of evidence. Posts and interactions around the time of Duck's murder allegedly show a pattern of coordination among OTF members. The digital footprint of a conspiracy is hard to erase, and prosecutors have been building a timeline that they say shows Durk's involvement from start to finish, the case has sent shockwaves through Chicago's drill scene. Young artists are now thinking twice about the lyrics they put in songs, knowing those words could land them in court. The line between artistic expression and criminal confession has never been blurrier, and it's not just local. The international attention on this case proves that Chicago's street politics have global consequences. Drill rap has spread to the UK, New York, and other cities. And prosecutors everywhere are watching closely to see how American courts handle the intersection of music and real-world violence. Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, has become more than a grieving parent. She's now a powerful voice for change. Her lawsuit isn't just about seeking justice for her son. It's about exposing an entire system that, she argues, profits from the deaths of young black men in cities like Chicago. The record label angle could set a legal precedent. If courts rule that labels can be held responsible for the crimes of their artists, it could fundamentally change how the industry evaluates, signs, and promotes talent. The authenticity that drill music thrives on may soon become a legal liability. The federal government's strategy represents a new chapter in how they pursue organized crime. By applying RICO statutes to hip-hop collectives, prosecutors are adapting to modern realities where criminal enterprises no longer rely on traditional mob tactics, but instead use music, social media, and fame as tools for control and intimidation. The alleged coordination stretches from street-level shooters all the way to major record executives. Prosecutors say this web of complicity shows how deeply criminal enterprises can embed themselves within legitimate industries. As the case moves through the courts, one thing is becoming clear. Duck's murder was allegedly just one piece of a much larger pattern of violence, one that prosecutors believe was orchestrated from the top down. That's what makes this case so dangerous, not just for Durk, but for everyone connected to OTF. If Durk is convicted, it could mark the end of one of hip-hop's most successful independent labels, and serve as a warning to others about the consequences of mixing street politics with its music business. The economic ripple effects are already being felt. Other artists are distancing themselves from violent rhetoric. Labels are becoming more cautious about their signings. Concert venues are implementing stricter security. The cost of authenticity may finally be outweighing its value. This case, especially significant, is that it's forcing the music industry to confront its own role in profiting from real-world violence. The lawsuit against major labels isn't just about money, it's about accountability. It's asking, at what point does promoting controversial art become enabling actual crime? The ultimate question this case raises is whether the music industry can continue to profit from authentic street narratives without becoming complicit in the violence. Those stories portray the lawsuit filed by Duck's family argues that when labels invest in artists whose authenticity is rooted in real crime, and when that crime is what drives their popularity, there's no meaningful distinction between funding the music and funding the violence behind it. The long-term impact of this case will likely reach far beyond Lil Durk and OTF. If prosecutors prove that hip-hop collectives can function as criminal enterprises, and that record labels can be held liable, it could fundamentally reshape the industry. The cost of authenticity may finally be too high to pay. Chicago is watching closely. The outcome of this case could determine whether the cycle of violence that has claimed so many young lives will continue, or whether the system will finally hold accountable those who profit from that violence. FBG Duck's murder wasn't just another tragedy of street life, it was, according to prosecutors, a calculated business decision made at the highest levels of the music industry, and if the allegations are proven true, it means one of hip-hop's most successful collectives was not just a record label, but a criminal enterprise that used music as both a shield and a weapon. That's not just a story about two rappers beefing, that's a story about how deeply criminal activity may have penetrated the music industry itself.